You know that moment when you think, I should probably listen to this feeling, and then you don't?
Yeah, and then life reminds you that maybe you should have listened to that feeling.
Today we're talking about faith, wisdom, and learning to listen for the nudge. Nudge. The quiet guidance that shows up when we're willing to slow down and pay attention. It's a beautiful chaos, this roller coaster ride. The ups, the downs, are spinning all around inside. It's a beautiful chaos. Sometimes I love, sometimes I hate. Have to pause, renegotiate, but with gratitude I appreciate this beautiful chaos.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beautiful Chaos. I'm Staci Miller,
And I'm Tammy Ramsey.
and welcome to this episode where today we're going to talk about the nudge.
Listening to the nudge.
And you can translate that in a lot of different ways in our life. So, God's voice in your life, or some people call it like a still small voice, or your inner voice. But it's about listening to that nudge that you get that helps you be guided through your life every day.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm going to music in the park one night
Mm-hmm.
and I see my raincoat and I go, "Oh, I should take my raincoat." Well, it was like 90 degrees and there was and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what?" I was thinking crazy there, and I walk out and guess what? We got rained
I
on.
was going to say, you forgot where we live.
Yeah, I did. We have 4 or 5 seasons all in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So, our theme for this episode is faith in action. Wisdom is growth, and listening instead of rushing. If I hadn't have been rushing out the door, I would have realized, what would it hurt to take the raincoat?
Or just trusting, whether it's your
Yeah.
intuition or just your still small voice or whatever you want to call it. Just trusting that maybe that's coming from somewhere. I mean, we've all probably had that happen a million times where you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I should grab my wallet. I don't need my wallet. I've got my ID. I'm fine." And then you go somewhere, you're like, "Oh crud, I needed my wallet,"
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. We've all ran into those, and it's probably your intuition, your voice, God helping you, however you want to say it, get through those things and be prepared for life. So yeah, slowing down and really like focusing on our intentions each day.
Right. So, and I like to talk about God in my life. Is
Absolutely.
like that's my voice. That's
Mhm.
it's not me because I don't know anything most days. And really big decisions, I totally pray to God to help me with the answers. And then faith is not a passive thing.
No.
So when you pray and you're really asking for help in a situation, you have to have faith and know that God is going to answer you no matter what the answer might be.
Right. We might not
'Cause it
like
might be
the
no.
answer,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that you're not being given an answer. I had a friend who just said the other day, I didn't realize that when I was asking God for patience, he was just going to put a bunch of circumstances in my life that required me to have more patience. And we've all been there, right? Where we
Yeah.
ask God for something and then we get maybe something else, but it probably gives us what we were looking for in the long run. But,
Yeah.
in the end, we have to just have the faith that we are getting the answer, and then having that patience and stillness to listen for that answer.
Yeah, that's the big one, is the stillness. And for me, I get it in all kinds of ways. Like you could be struggling with something in your life and you pray about it, and then you're driving in the car and all of a sudden the song comes on and it's like something in that song is like exactly the answer that you needed, and you're like,
Right.
what?
Or exactly what you needed to hear.
Yeah. Or your friend comes up and starts talking to you and it tells you something that's so like off the wall, and you're like, what? That just answered what I was.
It's even cooler when your
asking.
friends will tell you, "Oh, I was reading in the Bible the other day,
Yes.
and I read this really cool verse," and you're like,
Oh my god.
"Oh, I think you might have read that verse because I needed to hear it," and
Yeah.
that's really where that was coming from.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to point out that faith isn't about getting what you want, but it's sometimes
Right.
about getting what you need. So, like we were saying before, you're not always going to get the answer you necessarily want, but you are going to get the answer that you need. and you're going to use those as building blocks to make you better in the long run.
Yeah, there's a country song where the guy goes to old high school football game, and Garth Brooks, yes.
I thank God for unanswered prayers.
Right on. Yeah. Yes. And
that was a
so
hard
true
one to listen to. So that came out when I was in high school. So again, if you're listening week to week, we're going to go back a couple episodes and think about those big feelings you have in high school.
Yeah.
That was a hard one for me to listen to in high school, because every day I would pray for XYZ to happen. I would wish on a shooting star, wish on the first star, and I would always wish for these certain things. And then I'd listen to that song and be like, it's going to happen the way I want it to happen, because I'm going to stay with the same boy forever, and I'm going to, I'm going to stay in this
make
town,
it happen.
do all these things, and it's never going to change. And then, my whole life was completely different, but it was completely different for a reason, because it made me the person I am today, the mom I am today, the wife I am today. And so I'm grateful for all of the circumstances that God led me through.
Yeah, you got to be grateful for all the struggles that got you where you are, because they have made you who you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how do you experience faith on a day-to-day basis?
I think that we just
kind of hit it all.
Because there's, so I'm going to tell you a quick story, because it seems to be, Anecdote is my middle name, apparently. So there was an episode of a television show I saw a long time ago when I was younger, and I never forgot the message. And I think it's really important. It's something that I think about on a daily basis. So when we're talking about that small voice and how if you ignore it, it gets bigger. So the story was that, God leading you through life, it might be like a little pebble, whatever the answer is, the little pebble that gets kind of thrown at you, and you're like, ooh, what was that? Yeah. And you just move on and you ignore it. And then it's like a rock. And then you're like, ow, that kind of hurt. You ignore it. And then it's a brick. And if you continue to ignore it, you're going to run right into a brick wall. And you can't deny that you've ran into that brick wall. When you run into that brick wall, it's like, here is the answer to your question. And you've been ignoring it. And I think that that's so true. And I've seen that time and time again, that if you ignore that voice and you ignore like those imprompts of God trying to lead you down a certain way, and you're like, no, that one wasn't for me, that was for somebody else. Yeah. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more obvious, and you start to hear it in a song, and a friend brings something up, and all of a sudden it's all you can hear is, I think that's the direction that I'm supposed to go. And once you don't deny that any longer, things start to fall in place and get a little bit better.
Get a little easier. That's me with rest. Like, I really have an issue with resting and kind of just chilling out.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to this.
We can all really, yeah. We like to, her and I both, we really like to just stay busy. So that's not something that I do, but I get prompted all the time to rest, and things come up. And matter of fact, this morning I was like, I'm feeling a little off today. And so I'm just going to kind of take it easy this morning. And I did. And the old me wouldn't have done that. But I've learned. Power through. But I learned when I powered through, the next thing you know, I powered through so many times that I'd end up laying in bed because my back's out or my neck's out or whatever, So that brick wall's hard.
Life where I power through, and then I end up laid up in the hospital,
or your hips totally out of whack.
Out completely, or I end up at the doctor for something. Or I think I'm really famous for, like, especially when we used to do plays, I could power through. Oh, yeah. And then, like, the day that we closed out a play, I'm sick as a dog the next day. Or as soon as a semester would end, like, everyone would get sick during finals. And I'm like, I don't got time to be sick. I don't know how these people are getting sick right now. I don't got time for this. I got finals. I got to study. And then as soon as the semester would be over and we finally going to get a break, and I get, like, spring break or get a week off or get even a weekend off, I'm
sick the whole time.
Sick as a dog.
Yeah. It's a trade-off. So really should listen to those inner voices of God's voice.
Take care of yourself, drink your water, get your sleep.
Yep.
Blah, blah.
And this is a wisdom thing.
Sorry.
It's funny though. It's a wisdom thing, because wisdom helps us, is the way that we grow when we pay attention, and we get wiser as we get older.
Yeah, gosh, if you're not learning from all of the lessons that you're being taught on a daily basis, you're missing the point.
Well, so some people though can't hear, like, we're sharing wisdom with you about our lives and things
Right.
that we've gone through and how
Messy
but
or
yeah,
yeah.
but some people can't hear it. They have to just experience it
And we've all
themselves.
seen it where somebody you're like, man, they haven't they got that one yet?
Yeah.
Because they're learning the same lesson over and over and over again. And they acclimate to be deciding that that's just their life and that's the
Mm,
way things are going to be, and they're going to suffer and they're going to have troubles in a way. And I'm not relating this to anything specific.
yeah.
Please don't take this too far in one direction, but you do see people struggle with the same thing over and over again, and maybe it is that. Maybe it's that they're just not hearing the lesson that's been taught to them or trying to be taught to them, and they need to kind of step out, take a moment, kind of observe their life.
Well, and maybe it's also the environment they were raised in. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they weren't raised in an environment where they were unfolded as children. They were tried to
Right.
be forced into something that they were not, or had these expectations that were too high for them to reach. Like,
Right.
or maybe they were told all their lives that they were worth nothing and had no value, and their self-esteem was in the toilet, and so
Right.
they continually fail at various things in life. But even if that's the way you're raised, that's the way you've lived, it doesn't mean that today can't be that day that you put
Mm-hmm.
it your life in God's hands and be like,
Right.
I'm going to focus forward. I'm going to focus on what I can create
Right.
and be a believer in myself.
And if you don't have a relationship with God, I would encourage you to start there,
Right.
because God is going to guide you through your life and help you in hard times. And if you're in your Bible and you're reading, you're going to read those things that are going to apply to your life and help you. Beyond that, I would say if you're still looking for ways to grow and learn and find ways out of your different circumstances, things like having a good friendship with
Yeah.
people, interacting with your friends and reminding yourself to like keep those relationships up, that's going to help you. Listening to podcasts, I'd like to say shameless plug for us, listen to us and have us help you, but also listen to other podcasts if
Yeah.
there's something else out there that helps you. Because I know like people always are at the gym and you think that they must be listening to like some really hard rock music. I'm listening to self-help podcasts like 9 times out of 10, like really soothing voices, and I'm like,
Yeah.
really, like that's how you overcame that situation. And
Yeah.
it, to me, it's really helpful. But listening to a podcast, reading a book, just whatever you can do to get yourself out of your own life and start educating yourself in some way about other situations and ways other people have gotten out of situations. Those are
Right.
the things that are going to help you grow also.
Right. And even so, Kevin gets up every morning and he's watching YouTube, but he is watching things that are motivational and uplifting, encouraging,
Yeah.
and yeah, he has grown. He's always been wise,
Mm-hmm.
but he is very
expanded
on that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's stoic. And I think Justin is the same, because Justin they're both quiet men.
Very patient and calm and calculated about what they're letting into their mind and life and what comes out. Yeah.
And then they're so wise when they speak to you as well and share that information. And half of the growth, like I think I look back and I go, okay, I was into the color code, and that was from Kevin. Kevin started reading the color code about personalities. It's a personality deal. And then I became a certified color code trainer because I go all in, because that's how I'm going to learn.
Right.
And then he started reading, understanding the Enneagram, which is also a personality thing. And it talks about your strengths and your weaknesses, which it's very good to be self-aware. If you can recognize your weaknesses and you can focus on what your strengths are and let go of your weaknesses, and you can just be a better human.
Absolutely.
But anyways, it's because of him that I have grown as a person. And I think that's really important as a couple, that you have things that help you grow together. But I digress. What is our topic? Wisdom and faith. Faith and wisdom.
And
back to it.
Getting that nudge.
Listening to that nudge.
Listening to that.
So, that's what I was going to lead into too, was that, so y'all are just going to think I'm a crazy lady.
If you haven't
I am crazy. Yeah. But so sometimes I walk in and he's watching something on YouTube, and then he'll pick something else. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's just what I needed to hear. Like,
did he have it queued up so he could help.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe he's like, my wife really needs to go over there. Let me change the channel. No, he's usually finished with whatever, and then he searches, and yeah, I don't know. He picks random things. That's funny. I should ask him. Maybe he's so wise. He's like mind messing with me. Sorry.
The topic again is wisdom
And faith.
And so we're talking about, so another angle to this is that wisdom is born in struggle. And I think what we're meaning when we say that is how we were talking earlier about you go through hard things and hard things doesn't necessarily mean, man, you had a bump in life. Hard things is taking an English class when you're 38 and learning that you can write a paper and learning that you understand something about an author that you never understood before, or understand something about a concept that you never understood before. But wisdom is born in struggle. Right. And so whether you're struggling through just trying to read a book, because I struggle sometimes just getting through a book. Some books I can just get through real quick, and some books I really struggle to get through. But at the end of it, I've learned something, I've grown, I've learned something about somebody else, I've learned something about myself, I've learned something about characters, however you can do it. But that's where you're going to grow the most. So they always say to like get yourself just outside of your comfort zone in order to grow. And I think that's really important. And then the next thing is life's speed bumps are our teachers. That's that same thing of just, that's where you learn, is when you get through any sort of, even a great rough time, right? So like going through Music in the Park, getting through a season of Music in the Park is a struggle.
It's a struggle.
It's a good 6-8 months of our life of budgets and fundraising and
planning
sponsorships and calling people and begging for this and that and the other and planning every detail of each event. And at the end, I think every year we learn a little bit more about each other, about ourselves, about how we're going to make it successful and get it to
function better the next year. Yeah. Well, and all of our lessons in life do come from the hard things. And a great saying is the obstacle is the way. So anytime something seems tough, I mean, that's where you're going to grow in wisdom for sure. Like you said, push yourself outside of that comfort zone, right? And look back also at all the tough times and be in gratitude that you had those tough times that formed you to be who you are, like we talked about earlier.
Right. Well, I think another thing is that, we've talked about kids a lot. We talk about parenting a lot. And our kids need to be able to struggle.
Right.
A lot of times we want them to have everything.
We want to protect them.
And we want to just give because we didn't have certain things, or give them as much love as you possibly can. Give them all the support that you possibly can. Give them all of the tools that they are going to need to succeed, but can't just give them everything and not let them struggle. I mean, I love my kids. I definitely supported them, and I was not a perfect parent, and I did a lot of things wrong, but they had to struggle. If they wanted a car, they had to have a job. And so my kids are 14 and a half, barely. If you can get a license, better get a job, because I'm not buying a car and I'm not putting gas in it and I'm not doing oil changes on it. And so we had a lot of rules. And did they struggle because of it? Sure. Did it make them better people? Absolutely. Are they both really hardworking individuals now?
They are.
And so, we need to be okay with letting our kids struggle with support.
Yes. Well, I still have our driving rules. I made up a sheet of paper that was the driving rules, because I'm also a believer in, and there's different parenting things, but I'm a believer in, you have to know what I'm expecting of you as a driver. And so I'm not going to pay for you to cruise around town with your friends. Right. Like, that's on you. Same thing. We made all our kids get get jobs too. Yeah. But the same thing. But I believe that they need to know what their expectations are too. But, but anyways, and in total agreement, if they don't struggle, they don't learn. Right. Just like if they don't, I don't know, they don't get picked for a team or a position on a team. Right. It's your job as a parent to support them and help them to understand how they can look at this as a good thing. Right. Look at the benefit of where they currently are going to be. So,
and as a parent, I think it's important to remember we're not going to be around forever for our
Yeah.
kids, but also, and that could be a really awful thing that you all just imagined in your head. And that can also be that your kid might get offered a job on the other side of the country tomorrow, and they're just not close anymore. And did you give them the tools that they need to succeed without them having to hold your hand through the process? You know, our job as a parent is to raise them to be successful individuals
Right.
on their own. But, you know, we never stop loving, and we never stop supporting, and we never stop being there for our kids. But, and we can relate this in any way, shape, or form. You know, if your husband is facing some sort of struggle, yeah, you're going to be there and love them and support them and help them. But like, maybe it's like a hard time at work, and a boss is giving them a hard time. You're not going to go to work with them,
Yeah.
and try and get the boss to like lay off a little bit or something like that. They're going to get through those struggles on their own, and they're going to come out on the other side better for it. And in the meantime, you're going to be loving them through it. And hopefully when you're going through struggles in your life, you have friends and spouse and kids and whoever that's going to love and support you through them as well. But again, part of this is really about faith also, because at the end of the day, you and God are always going to be there for each other no matter what, whether the husband's there and the kids are there or they're not. At the end of the day, you always are going to have your relationship with God. So always remember to invest in that relationship and make sure that you're putting in what you want to get out of that, so that you're keeping that open line of communication, so you can hear all of that and all of those promptings that you're going to want to hear in your life.
That's right. And repeated lessons doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't learn it. Sometimes I've had a similar lesson, and I catch myself going, well, why am I having to go through this again? And then like a few weeks later, after I go through it, somebody comes to me and says, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I'm having this problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I just went through that just a few weeks ago. Here's what I did, if that helps you at all. So sometimes we go through hard things so that we can help someone else to go through it.
Right.
So what feels like a detour might actually be training.
Right.
100%. Faith in the hard stuff. Illness, loss, uncertainty. Words are hard.
And I think it's important to point out that having faith, having a good relationship with God, listening to your voice, taking time to process things, all those things we're talking about, it doesn't mean that you're not ever going to be sad or have grief or go through really hard things. It just gives you somewhere to put it and a way to process it and a way to grow from it. Because again, at the end of the day, we're looking for growth and wisdom and coming out on the other end of it a little bit stronger and a little bit wiser.
Right. And I always picture our lives like a book. And we don't know what that last page looks like. Only God knows. And only God knows all the pages in between. And we just have to have faith and know that He's got our backs. Like He knows. He knows what we need, what we're going to have. And sometimes it's not going to be easy, but there's reasons for all things. We're just not wise enough to know.
Speaking of wisdom.
Yes.
So wisdom in our life requires honesty. And so we really need to be honest with ourselves and with others.
Yes.
So know your strengths and weaknesses so that you don't fall victim to your strengths or
to your weaknesses. You want your strengths.
Yeah. Hopefully you're not falling victim to your strengths. That's a different problem. But that you don't fall victim to your weaknesses. And or allow anybody else to penetrate those weaknesses. So make sure that you really know and understand yourself.
Growth requires admitting what your weaknesses are. So, so my thing is, believe it or not, my personality is gluttony. That's my weakness is gluttony. And so, and I ultimately want to avoid pain. So those two things together is why I have struggled with gaining weight throughout my life, gaining it, losing it, all the things, because I was trying to avoid pain because I don't like pain. And then I'm gluttonous. So if I start eating something to create that dopamine feeling, then I just keep eating more and more and more because of the gluttonous part of my personality. But now because
it numbs the pain. And
it numbs the pain.
Feeds your soul. And
so now through education, through all these things, I've become aware that my weakness is that. And
Yeah.
so I know I can't let myself even have a little of something that would trigger me into being gluttonous. And that also, sitting with the pain heals my soul. So whatever emotion that you have, if you just name it, locate it in your body, breathe through it, accept it, and then just let it go. It is so much better than going and eating a bag of ho-hos. Or they don't come in a bag, do they? Do you remember ho-hos? A box of ho-hos.
They do.
See?
But I think, and everybody's weakness is different. So Tammy well identifies what her weaknesses are and how to work with those. Some of us, it might look very different than that.
Every personality is different.
Have the treat and have the snack and get through the pain with a treat without overindulging. And so that's okay. Just identify that in yourself and make sure that you understand that where your weaknesses are and not giving into those weaknesses. And then, like she said, sitting with your pain, like we can't avoid pain as much as we'd like to. We can't avoid it. So at some point you have to, whether it is getting through the pain, like once you've kind of sat with it and processed it, maybe it's humor that's going to help you get through it.
Right.
Maybe it's talking. And if you
talking
feel like talking to a friend is not enough for you and you need to talk to a professional, please do that, because I think that that's important. And if you recognize that, then you recognize that for a reason. But we do need to be able to process all of our emotions, good, bad, and ugly.
Right. And that's part of being wise.
Correct.
We grow through all of those hard moments and struggles and and understanding the Enneagram or the color code. Either one of those books are personality books, and it's kind of crazy how spot on they are. You're like, how does this person know me? And does this mean, oh my gosh, how many other people are struggling with the same things? And it's kind of crazy.
If that's not your thing, then
that's okay too.
Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Yeah.
Boy, you can learn a lot about how we're just hardwired differently as in our gender. Or, what was the other one I was going to think of? Anyways, some of us don't identify specifically with that, but it's just a matter of pay attention to people around you. Pay attention when you're like getting an evaluation at work and somebody points out your strengths and weaknesses there.
Yeah.
Or when your friends are like, hey, sometimes like you take things the wrong way. Pay attention to that. Start paying attention to the way that other people are viewing you. But even, I always bring up like other lifestyle podcasts I like to listen to, or reading autobiographies.
Yeah.
To me, I gain a lot of wisdom about myself through those types of things too, because I try and see myself in somebody else or their struggle or how they came out of something. And then it helps me further identify more about who I am. But we have to know who we are really well. There's that old adage that people love to say, like, you can't love somebody else until you love yourself. And I know single people hate that phrase so much, and I hated it when I was single, and I understand why we hate it. But at the same time, it's really about identifying yourself in order to identify with others, and all that comes with that, because, I always like to say that you expect your friends to love you for who you are, but if you're not showing them your entire personality, that's not fair. But also when you eventually do show them your entire personality, guess what? I'm going to still need you to love me for the ugly in my personality, because we're not all perfect and not everything's great.
Yeah,
like sometimes Sam puts her foot in her mouth, but we laugh it off, we let it go and move on, right? Can we help her be a better person the next time, or whatever it is, right? I'm not obviously a tease, but at the end of the day, I see her whole person. She sees my whole person. Our husbands see our whole person. And we all accept each other regardless of those things. But you can't do that if you're not honest with yourself about who you are. So,
right. 100%. What a great way to end that episode too. So I think so. Thank you for sharing that. The more we pay
attention to ourselves, the wiser we are going to become.
Exactly.
And lean into your faith.
Lean into your faith, for sure. 100%. Well, thanks for joining us. And please like us and subscribe on YouTube.
So that you can get your downloads every Monday. And you'll be the first to know when our episodes come out. And we would love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback, If we sparked a feeler in there somewhere and you want to tell us about it, tell us about it. Pick it apart. Let us know what we're doing right, wrong, and different.
Yeah.
We'd love to chat with you. So
Yeah,
we'll see you next time.
And stay empowered.